Hello, everybody, and welcome back to TarHeelIllustrated.com. Or, of course, if you are watching on a growing YouTube channel, that is Tar Heel Illustrated. I'm THI staff writer Jacob Turner, and joining me as he always does, our very own publisher, Andrew Jones. And AJ, we're here for the regular season finale, I should say, edition of the preview podcast. Here to preview Carolina's regular season finale matchup at 20th ranked NC State on Friday night in Raleigh, 7 p.m. kickoff. ESPN will be televising that one. Carolina sitting at 6-5. NC State sitting at 8-3 overall. An NC State win, a Wake Forest loss against Boston College gives North Carolina State their first Atlantic Division title. So big opportunity for State potentially. Like I said, not in their hands, but big opportunity to State where they, at least if they beat Carolina, they've got a shot at bringing home that Atlantic title if Wake Forest goes and loses to the Eagles. So a lot to play for the Wolfpack. Carolina, I guess playing for bragging rights right now more than anything. Bowl eligibility secured at 6-5. So not much of a difference in my opinion, at least. I'm sure some people will disagree between a 6-6 record and a 7-5 record, both kind of average for mediocre for what Carolina came into the season expecting. So we're obviously going to preview the matchup, talk a little bit about it, talk about State, talk about Carolina. So as always, AJ, let's dive into that right now. As we kind of always do before we go into State and Carolina, I want to look back a little bit. Obviously, Carolina coming off a relatively routine victory over Wofford, not a winless team in the SoCon, and Wofford sitting at 1-9, so not the greatest opponent, but Carolina getting a win over the last Saturday in Chapel Hill on Senior Day. So, we got to see the likes of Drake May. We got to see the likes of Jacoby Criswell. Obviously, with Sam Howell not playing in that game, his status still up in the air in terms of if he's going to play this Friday against the Wolfpack. But I thought we got to see some young guys play against Wofford. I think that's always good. I think it's a big benefit for Carolina going into the offseason, going into some of those extra practices that they'll get preparing for the bowl game, which is always valuable to get those live game reps and actually have something to look at. So I think Carolina got what they wanted to out of the Wofford game. I didn't think it was the greatest performance. I think you kind of expect that when you got two quarterbacks that haven't played much, that are kind of playing one half and you got another guy playing the other. It changes things a little bit. So no surprise Carolina didn't put 50, 60 points like you would probably expect them to if Sam Howell was playing. But overall, AJ, what are your thoughts about where the Tar Heels are right now headed into Raleigh on Friday night?
Well, I think what they got out of the Wofford game, I don't really think Wofford game connects to the NC State game other than the fact they're going to be without Jaquarius Conley.
Yeah, it's a big loss.
And he got hurt. He's out for a while.
Very first play of that
game. Yeah, it's going to take a while before he comes back, and they could use him. They need physical guys against a physical team, and Conley's one of their more physical players. So not having him, losing him in Wofford, stands out. The other thing, of course, was what they got out of the reps they got out of Jacoby Criswell and Drake May. That'll help. They still should have scored a lot more points. You got to be wildly disappointed in their inability to punch it in that goal line situation in the second half. Max said on Monday that, they had their second team guys in here, but they did have Austin Richards. Brian Anderson was on the field. William Barnes was on the field. Jonathan Adorno and
Ed Montilus played a little bit as well.
Ed Montilus, I don't think was in on that possession, but they still should have scored on that one. They scored more than 34 points against a 1-9 FCS team, but they didn't. Take that game, cut it out, put it over on the side. It is what it is. They got some guys some reps, and they move on. I think resting Sam was important because they were going to win that game regardless. They were going to get the bowl eligibility regardless. And Sam got beat up. He'd been beat up pretty good this year. And the last play against Pittsburgh, he took a big hit. And, there was some concern, and there has been some treatment. They're not BSing us about that. It wasn't they just held him out just in case.
Just because,
him. Yeah, and he's going to play this. I've seen unless something happens that we don't know about at the time that we're recording this, which is Tuesday afternoon, I don't imagine a scenario where he's not playing. Max said Monday, boy, he looked great today in practice. Well, you don't come out and say that about a guy just didn't play if you don't plan on playing him. Yes. And then you also don't say, it's really important to him that we win this game because trust me, he's getting treatment. If they would have played State this past weekend, he probably would have played. So he'll be ready to go. And that's good for Carolina because they have a better chance of winning this game with Sam at quarterback than anybody else at this time. Jacoby and Drake will be very good quarterbacks someday, but of course you'd rather have Sam under center now or behind center now if you're Carolina. So they have that. They're going to be I think they're going to go into this game with a pretty good mindset because let's face it, and it's been a very disappointing season, Jacob. But in the last month, they went into this stretch where their last 4 FBS opponents are all ranked. They went to Notre Dame and played pretty well. I mean, if there's that silly face mask on 4th down and there's that holding call, like they brought back a touchdown that ended up being a mess. So little things like that, they were pretty close to being in a position to maybe steal that game in South Bend or outright win it. Then they beat Wake Forest coming back from a big deficit. They go up to Pittsburgh and were incredibly bad in the first half. Pittsburgh should have had a bigger lead, didn't. Carolina made them pay for it, and the game went to overtime and they lost in a monsoon suddenly. So that was, again, they played well enough to win that game, and then they have this one coming up Friday night. So I think we've seen some toughness from this club. I think we've seen some resilience from this club. I think we've seen some of the scrappy claw and fight things that aren't maybe always associated with North Carolina football in the past, and they have to play that role where they dig deep into that stuff as the spoiler going into Raleigh. It's not very often when Carolina is going to go to Raleigh and play the role of spoiler, but that's kind of where they are. So I think Saturday was good for them. Just play a game, get a win, get dudes reps, get the bowl eligibility, exhale about that. I don't think you'd want to have to go into Raleigh, need to win to go to a bowl. I think that'd be a stressful situation. Instead, the stress is on NC State because State's playing for something very, very tangible. And it's very possible that Wake Forest loses to Boston College. So it'll be interesting to see if State's tight because the whole focus of it's Carolina, well, their bigger focus is let's take care of business, boys.
Yeah.
So it might be a little different message from Dave Doran going into this one. Instead, Mac can scream and yell about let's spoil it and it's State and let's go make a pay and let's go 3-0 in State and let's get state championship rings and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's an interesting storyline / narrative heading into this one for both sides.
Yeah, not to mention it. I know the State's had, this is probably the best team State's had since Mac's gotten here. But, for lack of a better word, Mac's had State's number since he's gotten back. I mean, just been able to put up big time points on the Wolfpack in particular. And we've really seen 2 blowouts over the past couple of years. So I think this State team is a lot better than those 2 teams. Like I said, I think it's one of the best teams, if not the best team that Dave Doran's had. In terms of just overall offense and defensive balance, and defense is spectacular, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But I know that does play a little bit of can potentially play a little bit of a factor too. So let's. Well,
State's one of the best teams Carolina's played.
Oh, no doubt about it.
They're not as good as Notre Dame. I don't think they're as good as Pitt.
It's close, but I don't think so. No.
But I like State's balance. State is good on both. They're not great on offense, but they're very opportunistic. They're very good on defense, very physical. Like they're number 1 in the country in kickoff returns. There's a lot of things that the Wolfpack do well. And they've got a coach who understands. They got a culture. Look, they've lost some really important players on defense, and they just keep humming along. They've got a culture there. That's a program. Yeah. We were talking about this before we started recording it. I was at I covered Dave Doran's press conference when he was hired. And then I left Fox a couple of months later, and I actually never covered the program. So seeing it from a distance and not having ever really been around Doran in the sense where I covered him and got to know him a little bit in some perspective, from afar, to me, it looks like that's a program that has found itself. Like they're operating in a manner that a program operates when it can deal with some adversity and they overcome it. They can have a couple of stumbles, but they overcome it. You go back and look at Mississippi State. It was really easy for people to say, man, that club's going to struggle this year. You go back a year ago and the way they looked, I believe when they went up to Blacksburg and they were awful and thinking, wow, this team's bad. But they get better. They improve during the year. They don't always beat themselves. They're physical. They fight, and they're good at the line of scrimmage. And that's what I like about this game for Carolina, because Carolina got all the news. They got all the headlines in the offseason. They're kicking State's butt in recruiting, and they're the ones, as Max said, getting all the sugar and honey. And here we get to Thanksgiving week, and who's the team playing for something significantly tangible? Yep. And who's the other team that's just trying to save face a little bit, trying to build some momentum, trying to get to a 7th win and send the seniors off on a positive note? I think it's a fascinating tale. And I think that this is a really good team that Carolina's playing. Better team than some Carolina fans give them credit for, I believe.
Yeah, definitely. And they've had, I mean, not to, we'll dive in a little bit deeper to State in a second, but they've had injuries this year too. I mean, their fair share. I mean, they've lost some big guys, particularly on that defensive side of the ball, to injury. I know that's happened a little bit early in the year as well. So they've been able to
Yeah,
adapt.
Peyton Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big loss for them.
Peyton would love to play at home in front of a full house against Carolina.
100%. Yeah. Oh my God.
And Carolina fans would love to see him out there and beat him.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So they've dealt with adversity. They've been a really impressive ball club this year. And like you said, compared to what the expectations were for both programs going into the season, pretty safe to say State's had a better season than the Tar Heels.
What did we say back in August? We said
we said State's a good team.
State was going to be a good team.
Yeah.
And we thought this last stretch would be the tough stretch. And obviously it didn't take too much to say that. You kind of knew that Notre Dame would be pretty good, Pitt be pretty good. And I kept saying, guys, I think State could be really good. They got a good offensive line. They got a first round pick at left tackle, Grant Gibson. Mm-hmm. Carolina overlooked him in the recruiting. I remember Dean did a podcast
he's a beast too, man.
2018 or 2017 about, Larry ought to go after Grant Gibson. Didn't go after him.
He's big time. I saw some of his highlights, man. He's
going to play in the NFL too. I think Devin Leary could play in the NFL. Like Bam Knight could play in the NFL. Like Kesey could play in the NFL. I thought Jay Bateman had a great line the other day, and he was talking about some of those guys have been there forever. They need to retire already. He's talking about Thayer Thomas. Seemed like Thayer Thomas was there when I covered State.
Yeah, no, for real.
And the Thomas boys. I mean, Drake Thomas is another guy that Carolina recruited. We covered his recruitment a lot.
Yeah.
And a lot of people didn't think he was going to be a very good college player, and he's really been a good player. So I know this isn't an NC State podcast, but Carolina fans, I think, need to take a look at this game and remove some of the hatred just for a few minutes and recognize they're playing a good team that is pretty solid in every area. They're not bad in any area.
This is a good football.
And that is why NC State has been able to navigate through the season the way it has.
Definitely.
Carolina has been bad in some areas, and they are intermittently awful in some areas, but they're also intermittently really good in some areas. Mm-hmm. And if that really good shows up a lot of the time Friday night, the Tar Heels have a chance to go in there and win this game.
Definitely. Let's talk about State offensively real quick. Sitting at number 5 offense in the ACC, averaging 33 points per game. In comparison, I should say UNC, number 3 ranked offense in the ACC, averaging 37 points a game. So somewhat similar, there's some really good there's really good offense in the ACC. I think State, the fact that they're averaging 33 points a game and only sitting at 5th kind of tells you all you need to know about some of the offenses in this league.
There's a lot of quarterbacks in this league.
Yeah, big time.
And nobody ever talks about Devin Leary.
Yeah,
they've been pushing. Look,
he's
the
big
State
time,
people
man.
have been
He's
pushing.
Really
the State media has been, some of the media, they're like, hey, guys, you got to talk about this dude too. And I thought Bateman said it right when he pointed out his stats. Just look at those stats, man. Stats don't lie.
He's big time.
There are a lot of really good quarterbacks in this league. And you and I, we've mentioned it before Carolina played UVA. We talked about Brennan Armstrong before they played Pitt. We talked about Kenny Pickett before they played Wake, Sam Hartman. Well, Devin Leary's up there in that group. I don't think he's as good as Pickett. I don't think he's as good as Sam, but that's okay. He's still really good. And I still think that guy's going to earn some money at the next level.
Oh, yeah. No doubt about it. I mean, just looking at his stats, diving into him, throwing for 3,186 yards this season, 65.8 completion percentage, 31 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions. So, I mean, that alone kind of tells you all you need to know. Big time year from Devin Leary after some struggles in the past, but he's been fantastic for State this year, and no doubt about it. When you look at some of the other guys on the offense, particularly the running game, which they expected to have a really dominant running game this year, hasn't really been the case for State. Running back Zonovan Knight leads the team, 684 yards rushing, only 3 touchdowns. Also splitting time with Ricky Person, 573 yards, 5 touchdowns as well. So, like you're looking at Carolina, got a 1,000-yard runner and Ty Chandler. NC State's nowhere near close to that. And I've seen a lot of articles talking about them, expecting them to be a little bit better of a running team. How much that has to do with Devin Leary's abilities this year could have a little bit of a factor to do with it, but not as dominant in the running game as I think a lot of State fans and some State media members kind of expected. I think it's safe to say.
But they're in a team in America that wouldn't take Person or
oh no, they're big time running backs. Yeah,
I mean, and we've seen crazy stuff happen in this game before.
Yes, we have.
Would it surprise you if Ricky Person
runs for
up 200
yards? No, not at all.
No. So they've got 2 running backs capable of doing that. Carolina's proven only has 1, but it has a quarterback who can do that. Although the last thing that you want is Sam being out there getting popped by that defense.
Yeah.
When I watched the Wake NC State game, and I did a recorded a Zoom with JC Zemmel, who runs the Wolfpack of the NC State rival site. And we were texting about that night, a bunch of us on staff. Look what they did to Sam Hartman. Sam Hartman was composed. They beat him up a little bit. They made him run. They chased him. Somehow Wake still scored 45 points, which is an absolute credit to Dave Clawson for getting that team to score 45 points against that NC State defense. But I'm telling you right now, you do not want Sam taking 25 hits in this game. So you have to be able to run the ball well conventionally. You have to be able to hit those short things. The receivers have to get open. Somebody other than Josh Downs has to get open. Because State has those different options. Leary's not going to get hit a ton, but if they have to go to the ground game, they got two running backs that can take a lot of beating and can get that for them. If Carolina's going to have a huge night running, Sam's going to be a part of it, which means a lot more hits.
Oh yeah.
So I know we're talking about State's offense, but I do think these two things go hand in hand because these games tend to start veering off in a direction once things get settled, and then it keeps going in that direction for a while. That's why weird stuff happens in rivalry games that we could do a 3-hour podcast and something's going to happen of significance Friday night that we're not going to hit on. And JC and that crew and Jonas Pope, who covers them for the News and Observer, and all those guys, we could all sit around talking about this game all day. Something's going to happen that doesn't come up in that conversation.
The rivalry game.
And that's what I love about these games.
Yeah, most definitely. 2 wide receivers to keep an eye on. Emeka Emezie, feel like he's been there since 2005. Been there forever. 55 catches, 690 yards, leading receiver for the Wolfpack, averaging 12.5 yards per catch. You also got Devin Carter, 556 yards on the season, 17.9 yards per catch, 6 touchdowns. Interestingly, State's got four receivers with over 20 catches, and they're all averaging over, I believe it's 12 yards per catch. So you're talking about a big play team through the air as well. They can really make some big chunk plays out of nothing. I know I've watched some State games this year, and the plays that stand out in my head from the likes of Emezie and Carter are usually big plays down the field in which they pick up big chunks of yards. So really dangerous offense. They can really get it done through the air. We talked about it a little bit, AJ, but as I always want to ask you, what does Carolina have to do on the defensive side of the ball to be able to slow the Wolfpack down on Friday night?
Get stops.
Easier said than done.
I know. I asked Jay Bateman where is the start. I asked him on Monday, where do you begin? And he kind of rolled his eyes like, well, they got receivers, they got running backs, they got a quarterback to do a lot of stuff. They got a really good offensive line. So what do you do? Like everything in football, it always starts up front. They've got to make Leary try to beat them with his arm, because if Knight and or Person are together, they combine for 200 yards or so rushing.
It'll be a long day. Yeah.
And they do it conventionally. Carolina's got no chance. So you've got to stop that part first. And then you've got to force them to pass, and then you have to apply some pressure. It's just a checklist stuff. So they have to play checklist football. And part of that checklist is don't miss a bunch of tackles. Part of that checklist is if you get a stop on 3rd and 12, don't face mask. Don't get a PI. Don't late hit the quarterback. All that kind of stuff. That's what this team has done a lot. They've been their own worst enemy at times. There are times when Bateman's defense has gotten the stop, except in it. A penalty that actually didn't affect the play, and it keeps the drive going. And then they don't respond very well to in-possession adversity, where they give up one of those penalties and boom, a couple of these players.
Those are individual mistakes. Yeah, those are individual mistakes.
Yeah, but they have been pretty consistent. I can go back into a lot of these games, when they've had those 2-quarter explosions, when teams like Georgia Tech and Florida State and Miami and Notre Dame, they all rack up 300 plus yards over a 2-quarter stretch at Pittsburgh. Part of that, in addition, are the penalties. Now, that 300 yards, the penalties aren't included in that. So you got 300 yards plus, 3 15-yard penalties. So you've got to minimize some of that stuff. They just have to play better football.
Yeah.
Period. And they're not going to have Jaquarius Conley. Morrison's going to move to nickel. Bateman told us Monday Morrison's, and I quote, elite nickel, but he's been at safety for a while. So they keep moving safeties to nickel. They've had issues there.
Yeah.
We'll see. They got to be really good up front, Jacob. They got to apply some pressure and then maybe make some plays. They've been able to get some turnovers lately, some important ones. They got an important one late at Miami, got an important one late at Pitt. They got one against Wofford. Wofford didn't pass much, but they got a pick. So we got to get some turnovers. They got to make NC State hurt itself a little bit at the same time by forcing a couple turnovers. So it's a big task. It's not as big as Wake was offensively, but it's a big task.
Yeah, no, most definitely it is. It's a really good offense, like you said. It's a offense that's got guys who can make plays in virtually every skill position.
Very opportunistic. That's what JC said. Yeah. JC said they have a very opportunistic offense. They may go a couple 3-and-outs, but boom, they see something, a personnel grouping or something like that. Boom, they take advantage of it. And they move down the field and get in the end zone.
That's key. Yeah, that's key. Let's focus on the NC State defense real quick. Really impressive defense. Number 2 defense in the ACC, allowing just 18.7 points per game. In comparison, Carolina sitting number 11 in the ACC, allowing 31.4. So you can see the gap in defensive, output this year from both teams. Just completely contrasting styles and what we've seen from State and what we've seen from Carolina on that side of the ball. It starts with Drake Thomas. We've talked about him. I mean, just unbelievable season that he's had. I knew he was good, but I didn't realize quite how good he's been for this team. Leads the team in tackles with 90, leads the team in sacks with 6, and has a team-high 3 interceptions, all from the linebacker position. Drake Thomas is –
and they've all been big picks. They've all been big interceptions.
Yeah, he's a big-time player for them. He actually played over down the road. I live in Wake Forest area, played down the road to Heritage, so I got to see him in high school. And like you said,
was kind of 8 minutes from – that's about 8 minutes from my house.
Not far at all. And
I almost went and saw – I did see him in high school when they played Wake Forest the night that Devin Lawrence committed.
Yep.
And Drake was playing a lot of fullback. I was like, man, I don't know if he's athletic enough for college. I had the same questions that some other people had. And man, I love seeing guys get to school and just prove everybody wrong.
I've got a funny story. I'll throw this in there real quick. A girl I dated in high school, I went to her brother's middle school graduation, and Drake Thomas was a part of his 8th grade class. And I remember, I think he was trying to grow the hair out at the time. This was pretty early, but I remember him being like, I didn't know who he was, but he stood out because I was like, that kid's an 8th grader. And I heard some people talking about him being like a football star or something like that. And I'm like, okay, fast forward, 6-7 years now, and the guy's, one of the best defensive players, if not the best linebacker in the ACC. Just been fantastic for the Wolfpack. So that's my Drake Thomas story for you. But Tanner Engel at safety position has been really good for him as well. Second on the team in tackles with 74. So it's just a really good defense. It's a defense that doesn't allow a lot of points. It's a defense that makes stops. I know they've had some, going back to that Wake Forest game, I know they've had some games where they've let opponents really put up points on them. But overall, this is a defense that, let's just put it this way, Carolina fans would absolutely love to have. And if Carolina had this level of defense, we'd be having a completely different conversation about where the Tar Heels are at right now. So AJ, I think that Carolina can score them. I think if Sam Howell plays, I could put Carolina's offense up against anybody. I think will definitely put points up on the Wolfpack, no doubt about it. But what does Carolina have to do? Assuming that Sam Howell plays, which we expect, to beat the Wolfpack on Saturday, but to be able to put up points on this extremely talented NC State defense.
Well, if Carolina had that defense, they'd be 10-1.
Oh God, yeah.
I think so.
Like I said, Carolina fans would die to have that defense. Let's be honest with ourselves.
Oh yeah.
I know it's State, but they would absolutely.
I hate to sound redundant, but I'm going to be redundant because where does football begin? It's up front.
Yep.
You got to run the ball conventionally. You cannot put Sam in a position where he has to win the game by himself, essentially.
We've seen that.
That's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. They're going to be hanging out there and he's going to get popped. So if you run the ball well conventionally, you minimize the number of hits that Sam's going to get. You can do it through RPOs, you can do it through dives and counters, just basic stuff, but you've got to be able to run the ball conventionally between the tackles, which is a considerable task against this team. But this club has shown that it can do that against solid defenses. It has had more success doing that, I'd say the last 5 weeks, 6 weeks, month and a half of real time. So they have to do a better job. I think they're more in sync with Ty Chandler. Chandler has to be a big part of the offense. He don't have to run for 100, but he's got to be in the 75 to 80 range. He's got to catch a few passes, and Downs has to get open. But they need Antoine Green to do what he had started doing in South Bend after the bye week. Antoine Green over the next 3 games in that 3-game, 12-day stretch against Notre Dame, Wake, and Pitt, he had 14 catches and 4 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. So they need him to be a part of things. I like what we saw from J.J. Jones the other day. He's kind of sowing his oats a little bit. Justin Olsen is slowly creeping toward someone that they might be able to soon rely on. Well, Friday night would be a good night. If they can get a couple passes to him, get a couple to Antoine, more than a couple to Antoine Green, use the tight ends, all that kind of stuff, run the ball well conventionally, then allow Sam an opportunity to kind of sit back there and go through his progressions, and that's how they can move the ball. But that's a really big task. Sam's been sacked 39 times. Mm-hmm. And the offensive line hasn't really made a lot of progress in protecting him. But they have made the little progress they've made is that Sam's been able to hit a few more balls downfield in the last 4 games or so than he was beforehand. So they've made a little progress there. But I think part of that's because Antoine Green got open. Justin Olsen got open and caught the ball. So he has to hit those other guys. They have to spread it around. I mean, it's pretty simple what they have to do. If it's just Sam, if you think, well, we need 300 and 100 from Sam, I don't think that's a good recipe going in if that's your mission. I think if you get it and get some of that other stuff, then you put yourself in great position to win this game.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. I completely agree. And it's going to be interesting because I think like you said, I think football is one of the trenches. I'm interested to see if this offensive line of Carolina's can protect Sam, because it's been a struggle this year to say the least. I know State's got something like 28 sacks on the year, which is kind of middle of the pack in terms of where they sit in the ACC. So this isn't a team that, just gets the quarterback all the time, but 28 sacks is 28 sacks. In comparison, Carolina's only got 21. So this is a NC State team that can get to the quarterback, but that's kind of what I'm curious to watch. Sam Howell's back. Is he 100% healthy? We may never know. We may know. But can this offensive line protect him, give him time to make plays? Because if you give Sam Howell time, he will make plays. I mean, we've seen that in his 3 years.
He'll be healthy. He'll be healthy enough to make plays. They have to give him that opportunity.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
So unless he gets popped a lot early and then he's just kind of wobbling around and stuff, I don't think Sam's health will be an issue going in. But they have to
be one in the game, if you don't protect him.
So I mean, the recipe's pretty simple, but perfecting that task is not on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, definitely.
And this club has not given us a lot of reasons to expect that both sides of the ball will be clicking on the same night. But they've made some progress on offense. I think they're a better team now than they were when Florida State came to town.
Oh yeah,
I think they're a much better team, and they shook the tree a little bit. They got some stuff worked out. I think they know who they are now. I think Phil Longo calls plays fully understanding where their strengths and weaknesses are. I think that defensively, there are some inherent issues right now. At least I'm going to say inherent issues, but there are some issues with the defense, with the play calling. Still seems like stuff's getting in late. They're not always ready. That stuff has to be taken care of in the offseason with however they refine that part of their game. But they have improved in their missed tackle numbers defensively. So there are a couple small things. They were really good in the second half against Pittsburgh. They were really good against what I think is the best quarterback in the ACC in the second half of that game. So, if an element of that defense shows up, and if the offense that I think has been much better conventionally the last month or so, if that offense shows up Friday night as well, and there's no blowups on special teams, then Carolina has a chance to win this game. It's a big hill to climb. It's not a mountain. It's a big hill. And I think NC State should win this game. But I do think Carolina fans should be optimistic going in, thinking, okay, they got a pretty good chance. Because I do think they have a good chance, but a lot has to go well. And it has to go well on the same night. There are a lot of times where, when the defense is playing really well for a while, the offense isn't doing anything, like in the first half at Georgia Tech. And even the second half at Pitt, they didn't just race up and down the field offensively while the defense was playing well. They were opportunistic enough and got it to overtime. It wasn't like they put 35 points on the board in that half or anything. So there's a way, and I think there's a will for this team, but let's see how it plays out. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I love this game being the last game of the year, Jacob. These two schools need to play for something other than just pride. I asked Mac Monday, I said, y'all play Duke for the victory bell. We see stuff all around the country going on. It's a natural for these two. They should maybe make one school wear something at the other school or have it on their sideline, throughout the whole season the next year. Or I don't know what it would be. You can have fun because of the cultures of the schools are so uniquely different.
All for that.
Make it, have NC State like a big Carolina blue pair of tassel loafers over the side of the stadium on display so everyone can see it. And for Carolina, I don't know, what would Carolina fans would say? Well, we have to have a red tractor or something.
Yeah, I'm about to say it'd be something to do with a tractor or something like that.
I think something that's inherently the culture of the state of North Carolina they should play for. So I'm starting that movement today. So I want all of my state and Carolina friends to hop on board. Let's get them to play for something, and let's play this game the day after Thanksgiving every year or the Saturday after Thanksgiving, because NC State you're going to lose an opportunity to get a lot of kids, a lot of recruits in Friday night. And I think that's wrong. You should have this game on a Saturday. But from a media perspective and from an isolation perspective, so you're on TV and a lot of people can see you, I do like the Friday aspect of this.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it.
So they got to play for something. So if you have some ideas, when we tweet this out, put some of your ideas on the Twitter thread. If you're on our site, post them in the board. We're going to post this video on our free board as well. So state fans can come over and get on the free board, post some ideas as well. Don't be nasty about it. Be respectful. Let's have some fun with this.
Be respectful, of course.
And let's start this movement. And next time I see Bubba Cunningham, I'll say something to it.
I love it. I'm all for it. I think it's great. I think it's smart. I think they need it. It's kind of crazy that they don't have something you think about.
Like Bubba cares what I have to say.
Yeah, exactly. But
I can get Brett Friedlander to say something to Boo Corrigan about it, and we get this thing going.
I know Brett's got some connections. I know that for sure. We need to get Brett on this, and we need to get Brett involved. Boo will just say, "Okay, Brett," just to move Brett along. Yeah, just to get Brett moving. Shout out.
And Bubba would do the same thing with me too. So
yeah, he'd be like, yeah, in one ear out the other type. Yeah, that's how it usually goes. But
okay, whatever, guy.
Prediction time.
Go write your story.
Literally. Story, right? Go finish writing it. Prediction time, AJ. Let's dive into it. I'm saying I haven't even done my staff pick yet. I'll get that in a little bit later. I'm thinking, but.
What time is it? You're borderline late, by the way.
Slacking, man. I'm slacking. I got to get it in. I've been contemplating. I'm going to go 41-38 Carolina. I think it's a close game. I think Carolina gives up points. Shocker. I think State gives up points as well because of that's going back to kind of what I've seen in the past against some good teams that State has played this year. I think Carolina's got a good offense. I think if Sam Howell plays, which we expect, like I said, they will put up points on this team. So I was contemplating 38-35 because I thought it might be a little bit less than that. But you know what? Screw it. Let's go 41-38. Shootout in Raleigh, day after Thanksgiving. You know, it's going to be a heck of a game, but I'm going to go 41-38 Tar Heels. But I will throw this in there like I always do. If State wins by the same score line or by even a little bit more, I wouldn't be surprised at all because this is a good State team.
So you throw out screw it, I'm going to roll with it, and then you cover your behind.
Yeah, I got to cover it because
you got to go one way or the other, man.
I got to cover myself.
You're throwing down the gauntlet or you're not. Are you picking it up or you throwing it down?
It's a tough one because, you know, it's more of like my brain's telling me one thing and I got something else in me like, I think Carolina's going to win this one. But I'm so conflicted. I have no idea what to expect if I'm being honest. That's kind of my feeling with this Carolina team for 80% of the year. So 41-38.
Well, I'm not conflicted. I think Carolina can win this game. I think NC State's going to win this team. They're a better football team. They're a more together team. They dot their I's and cross their T's more than Carolina does. I think that they're playing for something significant. It has been a long time since NC State has been, the ACC something, right? It's 1979 was the last time they won an ACC championship. They haven't yet won an Atlantic Division title. And by the way, it's been since 80 since Carolina won an ACC championship. So if there's a year to take advantage of it, this is it. I do think Wake can lose at BC on Saturday. I don't think they will, but I think that they very much can. I think BC has a slightly better chance of beating Wake than Carolina does of beating NC State Friday night.
I can't disagree with that.
So I haven't done my picks yet, so I'm late as well. So I'm with you. I need to do that right before I'm heading to the Dean Dome here in about a half hour. I was about to say, literally do it right after. So I'll do it like here as soon as we finish. I'm looking at similar. I don't think Carolina's going to keep them under 30. So I'm saying high 30s for State, low 30s for Carolina, something like 38-31. And if it's going to be lopsided in either direction, it's going to be lopsided in favor of State.
No, most definitely. I agree. It's going to be interesting. Like I said, I've been conflicted with Carolina games all year. I have no idea what to expect ever, basically. So we'll see what happens. That's a good place to wrap this one up, though.
They're They were a top 10 team in preseason at 6-5, and the odds say they're going to be 6-6. So of course you've been conflicted. Everybody that follows this team has in terms of what to expect.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting as my voicemail machine goes off in the background. So if you guys can hear that, please ignore that. But good place to wrap this one up, AJ. Carolina, NC State this Friday night in Raleigh. Big game for the Wolfpack. Big game for Carolina. It's a rivalry game, so it's always a big game. 7 p.m. kickoff on ESPN, and we'll both be there. I'll be there on the field.
Can't wait.
They'll be there in attendance.
The only time I get to games at Carter Finley now are every other year when Carolina goes there. I used to cover a ton of games, so I get to see some familiar faces and faces that I am fond of.
Yeah.
over there. So I always like going over there for both football and basketball.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. I've been to a few Carolina State games and some just regular state games over there. It's always a good time as well. Looking at the weather right now, low of 30 on Friday. So going to be a cold one down there. I'll have to bundle up for the sidelines.
What's the kickoff temp?
It says a low of 30. I'm thinking 7 o'clock. I don't have it right in front of me. I'm gonna say probably mid-40s, 40s, low 40s, mid 40s, maybe. Guess we'll see. It gets dark so early now. Who knows? It could be 35 degrees by 7 o'clock, but we'll see. It's gonna be a cold one nonetheless, but gonna be a fun one. Always fun to go over there for a big rivalry game. I'm sure the atmosphere is gonna be electric in there, like you said, especially with State having a chance to secure a Coastal Division title if Wake Forest can go up to BC and lose. So we'll see what happens, but big game.
It's going to be a great atmosphere.
Oh, it's going to be fantastic.
They get all day to get all lubed up for this one.
Man. Oh, heck yeah, man. Hey, say what you want about State, but they got one of the best tailgate setups in the country. And I don't care which. I don't care if you're in Carolina.
I have a niece and nephew that are students there, and I've seen some of their tailgate photos on Facebook. It's pretty interesting.
Oh, I've walked through.
I've walked through. We have to park in the middle of. That's where media parking is, across from the Murphy Center. Mm-hmm. So I always like it. I've always thought some people like to take jabs at it, but I think it's great.
It's electric. No doubt about it. Great atmosphere. It'll be a fun night on Friday night, but that's a good place for us to wrap it up. AJ's got to go cover a basketball game here in a little bit anyway. So
yes,
we'll let you step away. We'll have all the coverage from that game, obviously. And we'll go out after that, of course, but for all your coverage for the NC State game leading up to it, during it, and after it, make sure you keep it locked to TarHillIllustrated.com. Link in the description below. And make sure you keep it locked, of course, to our YouTube channel as well. Tar Heel Illustrated. Like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know every single time we upload, and we upload a lot this time of year with all the football and basketball going on right now, as well as recruiting. So keep it locked to TarHillIllustrated.com. We'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.